Hello, Bronx Middle School Math. We are going to be doing a lesson 6 from Unit 1B review. And this lesson is all about division. What is division? We said that it was repeated subtraction. We are seeing how many groups we can get out of a certain number. And this exit ticket problem was perfect for explaining or practicing what division is in a real world situation. Real world is if you're a farmer and you have 510 apples. So I'm an apple farmer. We could say I'm up in Connecticut or Wisconsin or something. I don't know a good apple state, but we'll go with those. So I'm a farmer and I pick 510 apples. When I sell my apples, I sell them in boxes of 24 apples. So how many boxes can I get when I pick 510 apples? Because it has to be, each box has to have 24 apples. No more, no less. So how many boxes can I get from that? So we are going to use division. Remember, we call it repeated subtraction. So when we do 510 divided by 24, 510, that's the total number of apples. 24 is the number of apples in each box. So what I'm going to do is this is how I organize my thoughts and my process and my steps. This is how I figure out, I put 25, not 24. Y'all be safe out there. Check yourself. Always check your work. And we will definitely check our work after this. So when I am dividing, I want to make it easy for me. I don't want to make life harder than it has to be. And a way to make division easy is using friendly numbers. What is a friendly number? It makes multiplication easy. Y'all, do not make life harder than it has to be. So what would be examples of friendly numbers? 1, 10, 100, 1,000. These are friendly numbers because those are really easy to multiply by. So let's multiply those by 24 to see where we should start. Because when I'm estimating, I want to get as close as possible to the dividend, the number being split up or divided. In this situation, it's 510. I want my estimation to be as close as possible to the total number of apples, the dividend. So 1 times 24, 24. 10 times 24, 240. 100 times 24, 2,400. Okay, wow. Okay. And then 1,000 times 24 is 24,000. So which of these friendly numbers is the closest to 510? I'm not trying to trick you. It is that easy. 240. That is the closest number to 510. So if I make 10 boxes, that will use up 240 apples. So let's put that over here. I'm going to make 10 boxes. 10 times 24. And that's going to be 240. So how many apples do I have left after I make 10 boxes? I want to label this number of boxes. So after I make 10 boxes, I'm going to have 270 apples left. Because remember, I originally picked 510 apples, but I made 10 boxes. So I packed 240. So I have 270 apples that have not been packed yet. So from our friendly numbers, which one is the closest to 270? I'm not trying to trick you. it is 240. So I'm going to make another 10 boxes. 10 times 24 is 240. So how many apples do I have left? I have 30. So how many boxes can I get from 30? I have 30 apples left. I can make another box. Let's make another box. Let's sell another box. Let's make more money. We are here. Let's go get that bread. 1 times 24. So let's see how many I have left. I have 6 apples remaining. So I can get the total number of boxes I can get 21 boxes and 6 apples left over. Because we can't do 22 boxes because you need to have 24 in each box. We only have 6 remaining. So that's just going to be a snack for the farmer. 21 boxes and 6 apples left over. This problem is wonderful. I love this problem as a teacher because this brings in conversions, which we did in Unit 1A, and then it brings in division, which we're doing in Unit 1B. So we get the best of both worlds. We get all Hannah Montana on this, okay? So let's read it. Martha has 2,496 ounces of organic cornmeal that she sells at the county fair. She sells the cornmeal in boxes that contain 2 pints. She then packages the cornmeal in containers that each hold 6 boxes. How many containers will Martha need? So, what is this question asking us? They are asking us, how many containers will Martha need? That's what we're trying to figure out. So, we need to work backwards because what we know so far is that this is what we know is in blue, is that she has 2,496 ounces. Each box has 2 pints. And then each container has 6 boxes. So we're trying to figure out how many, let's write this down. How many containers and then we're going to write down what we know. And what we know is that 1 container, so we know 1 container is 6 boxes. And then we know 1 box equals 2 pints. So we're going to move this over here because 6 boxes, that would equal 12 pints. So 1 container equals 12 pints. Well, how are we going to figure out how many pints she has? We need to convert. This is our game plan. I'm going to do this in black. I'm sorry. Our game plan is we are going to convert the amount of ounces, which is 2,496, into pints. That way we can figure out how many boxes and then containers. So if we go to our reference sheet, we see 1 cup equals 8 fluid ounces. Then we see 1 pint equals 2 cups. So I'm going to write that down. 1 cup equals 8 ounces. Need to fix my 8, not the best 8 there. And 1 pint equals 2 cups. So first thing we are going to do is to figure out. So look at how we need to convert ounces to cups and then cups to pints. So we need to go 1 cup equals 8 ounces. Well, we don't know how many cups. That's what we're trying to figure out. How many cups are in 2,496 ounces? Remember, when I'm going from a big unit to a smaller unit, when I go from big to small, I multiply. And when I go from small to a bigger unit, I do the opposite. I divide. Now let's look at the ratio. It's 1 cup to 8 ounces. So that means when I go from cup to ounces, I'm going to multiply by 8. And when I go from ounces to cups, I'm going to divide by 8. So I am going to divide 2,496 by 8. (2,496) divided by 8 equals, and we're going to find out how many cups. Then once we find out how many cups, we can convert the cups into pints. But first we have to find the cups. So one by one, hara bahara. 2,496, 8. So let's figure this out. And again, we want to start with our friendly number estimation. So we could do 1, 10, 100, and 1,000. Let's start there and see which one is the closest to our dividend, the number that we are dividing up, the number we are breaking into groups. So we have 8, 80, 800, and 8,000. Which number out of our estimations is the closest, but not past, not bigger than 2,496? It can't be 8,000 because it's greater than 2,496. We only have this much. We can't go past it. Well, it's definitely not 8, and it's not 80. So 800 is the closest number to 2,496 that does not go over. So let's clean it up and get to work. So our first estimation is going to be 800. So that's going to be 100 groups. Because we're doing number of groups, number in each group. So 100 times 8, that's going to be 800. Let's subtract that and see how much we have left over. After I subtract 800 from 2,496, I am left with 1,696. What friendly number can I take from that? You know, I don't want to make life harder than it has to be. Let's do another 100. Let's make it easy on ourselves. 100. Let's do another group of 100 and see what happens. So 100 times 8, 800. So let's do 1,696 minus 800 and see how many we have left over. So I'm going to have 896 left over. Y'all, that's really close to our friendly 800. So let's do another 100. See what happens. So 896 minus 800, 96. What's another friendly number that is close to 96? 10. So let's do a group of 10, which is going to be 80. So 10 times 8 equals 80. So 10 times 8 equals 80. And we're going to subtract 80 from 96. Let's see how much we have left over. 16. So how many times does 8 go into 16? Every single time after we subtract, we focus on the remainder. So 8 can go into 16 2 times. So 2 times 8 equals 16. 16 divided by 8 equals 2. So we're going to do a group of 8. So 2 groups of 8 equals 16. And we have 0 left over. So let's go through this again. I start off with 2,496. And I take out 100. 100 groups. Well, if each group has 8, 8 times 100 equals 800. So when I subtract 800 from 2,496, I'm left with 1,696. Now I am seeing how many times does 8 go into 1,696. So I say, I'm just going to take out another 100 and see what happens. Another 100 groups. So 8 times 100, because remember, each group has 8, and I'm taking out 100 groups. So 800 minus 1,696, we're going to be left with 896. Now I am focusing on this number. How many times does 8 go into 896? Remember, division is repeated subtraction. So how many times can I take 8 out of 896? Our friendly numbers. Let's do 100. So if I take 100 groups and each group has 8, that's going to be 100 times 8. I'm going to be left with 96, and I'm focusing on 96. How many times can I take 8 from 96? 10 groups, and each group has 8, would be 8 times 10, 80. 80 minus 96 would be 16. How many times does 16 go into, how many times does 8 go into 16? Well, 2 times 8 is 16. If I had 2 groups and each group had 8, that would be 16. So the green line, the numbers right here on this side of the green line, that's our total number of groups. So how many groups do we have? 100, 100, 200, 300, 310, 312. So we add all these up, 100, 100, 100, 10, 2. We add these up, and that gives us the total number of groups. This is what I love about math right here. It's silly, it's nerdy, but look at this. So 2,496 divided by 8 equals 312. 2,496 divided by 312 equals 8. 312 times 8 equals 2,496. It always balances out. So I know if I want to check my division work, I can multiply. So let's do that. I'm going to multiply and use an array to check my division work. So we're going to do 312 multiplied by 8. And if I get the number of the dividend, the number we were breaking up originally, the 2,496, then I know I did my division work correctly. So let's go. 300. Oh, I don't like red. No. 312 multiplied by 8. So let's add up these numbers and see what we get. And look, we get the same number of the group we are breaking up. So that tells us we did our division work correctly. So 2,496 ounces, that equals 312 cups. Let's write that bad boy down. Oh, I thought that was the eraser. So how many cups? 312. Well, now, we're not done yet, y'all. Sit tight. We need to figure out how many pints does that make? I have 312 cups. Remember, cups is a smaller unit of measurement. So I'm going to zoom out a bit and give y'all a good 5-second look at this before I erase some of the work. So we have our cups. We have 312 cups, but we need to find out how many pints does that make up. So 1 pint equals 2 cups. And since we're going, so 1 pint equals 2 cups. I'm trying to figure out how many pints we have out of 312 cups. So remember, when we go from a big unit to a smaller unit, we multiply. And the ratio is 1 pint to 2 cups. So we're going to multiply by 2. And when I go from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, such as cups to pints, I'm going to divide. And the ratio stays the same. I'm going to divide by 2. So I'm dividing 312 by 2. Let's write that out. 312 divided by 2 equals blank pints. So let's find out how many pints are in 312 cups. Now, remember, we start off with our estimations using friendly numbers. So what would be some friendly numbers? They stay the same: 1, 10, 100, 1,000. So let's multiply our divisor by the number of groups that we are looking for. So 1 times 2, 2. 10 times 2, 20. 100 times 2, 200. 2,000 times 2, 2,000. So remember, the divisor cannot be bigger than the number of that we're splitting into groups. You can't split 312 into 2,000 groups. So the number that is closest to 312 would be 200. So let me write that down. Remember that this is the number of groups. And the divisor, that's the number that will be in each group. So each group will have 2. So if I make 100 groups, 100 times 2, that equals 200. Let's see how many I have left. How many cups do I have left after I put 200? Okay, so that would be 112. How many times I'm focusing on 112? How many times does 2 go into 112? Well, I cannot make a group of 100 because that would be 200 and there's not enough for that. So let's do 50. If I do 50 times 2, that equals 100. That leaves me with 12. So now I am focusing on how many times does 2 go into 12? If I do 6, because 6 times 2 equals 12, I can have 6 groups because 6 groups with 2 each is 12. I'm going to have 0 left over. So let's find our total number of groups. Our total number of groups, that's going to be 100 plus 50 plus 6. And that should be 156. So let me write this out in the fun way that I love about math. So 312 divided by 2 equals 156. 312 divided by 156 equals 2. So I know that 2 times 156, what will that equal? I want y'all to draw the lines here. Connect the dots. What number would go in that box? 312. So if I do my division correctly, the multiplication should check out. So let's do that. I'm going to check my work with an array. So I'm going to multiply 156 times 2. And if it equals 312, then that means I did my division work correctly. And look at that. It balances out. So I'm going to leave this on there for a few seconds so that you can write down and copy, pause the video and write down what I just did. So 312 cups equals 156 pints. Well, that is all fine and dandy. So we got it to pints. Is that what the question was asking us? Let's go back and look at what the question asked us. So the question was asking us how many contain... Oh my goodness, we're not done. I just did all this work and we're not done yet? Are you serious? Y'all. Hey, be grateful for difficult questions because they give us the opportunity to practice and master our new concepts, what we're learning in math. So I'm grateful for this hard problem because it's giving me a lot of practice. So we need to find out how many containers. Well, okay, so let's figure this out. One container makes up 6 boxes. That's fine. And well, how many? Okay, so each box has 2 pints. Okay. So let me draw the line here. So if each box has 2 pints, I could divide our total number of pints by 2, and that would tell me how many boxes there are. Then I could divide our boxes by 6, and it could tell me how many containers there are because each container has 6 boxes. Or I could just do 12 because we know that each container has 12 pints because two pints are in each box. So 2 times 1 equals 1 box is 2 pints. Well, each container has 6 boxes. So 2 pints times 6 boxes equals 12 pints. So I am going to divide the total number of pints that we have, which is 156 pints. I'm going to divide that by 12. And read the question. She sells cornmeal in boxes that contain 2 pints. So if I divided this by 2, that would tell me how many boxes. Then if I divided the number of boxes by 6, that would tell me the number of containers. So I am going to divide. I'm going to do 156 divided by 2 so that you see how many boxes. And then I'll divide the number of boxes divided by 6 so you know the number of containers. I can't fit the whole word there. We could just do this 156 divided by 12, and I'll do that at the end just so that you see that it will turn out the same number. But remember, we're grateful for all the practice that we get. So let's do 2, 1, 5, 6. Two times 1, 2 times 10, 2 times 100. Let's see what friendly number is the closest that does not go over. So 200 goes over, that's out. I can make 10 groups, and that'd give me 20. So let's see what happens when I do that. So I do 10 groups, 10 times 2 equals 20. And I'm going to subtract that. Okay, so now I have 136. How many times does 2 go into 136? Well, I know, listen, it would take me forever if I just did 10 by 10 by 10. So let's double it. Let's do 20 groups. So 20 times 2 equals 40. So let's take 40 out. Now I'm left with 96. How many times does 2 go into 96? Listen, this is taking a long time. If I just went by 20, that would take a long time. So let's make it easy on ourselves and just double. So what would happen if I did 40 groups? So 40 times 2 equals 80. Hey, that doesn't go over, and that gets us really close to 96. So let's do 80 now. So 96 minus 80 is going to be 16. Now I'm asking myself, how many times does 2 go into 16? 8 times 2 equals 16. So I'm going to do 8 groups. 16, and I'm done. Look at that, 0. So now I need to add up the total number of groups. So 10 plus 20 plus 40 plus 8, that is going to be 78 groups. And let's not forget the fun part. So 156 divided by 2 equals 78. And if I did 156 divided by 78, that would equal 2. And if I did 78 times 2, that would equal 156. So it all balances out. So the total number of boxes is 78. Well, now I know how many boxes. But remember, each container has 6 boxes. So I'm going to divide 78 by 6, and that will tell me the total number of containers. So let's write that out. So if I divide 78 by 6, I will get the number of containers. So let's do that. I'm going to do 6. And how many times does 6 go into 78? I'm going to use my friendly numbers, 1, 10, 100. And which one is the closest without going over 78? So 6, 60, 600. I think it is pretty clear that 60 is the closest without going over. So remember, we're going to put the number of groups over here. The number in each group is 6. So the number of containers, the number of boxes in containers will be 6. So we decided that 10 was the friendliest number that got us closest to 78. So let's make 10 groups, and that will give us 60 boxes. So I put 60 boxes up, and I'm going to subtract that. So 78 minus 60 equals 18. So now I'm asking myself, how many times does 6 go into 18? 6 times 3 equals 18. So I'm going to do 3 more containers. Now, I'm going to take away 18, and that leaves me with 0. So the total number of containers is going to be 10 plus 3, and that's 13. 13 containers. But how can I check my work? Remember, division is the opposite of multiplication. So 78 divided by 6 equals 13. 78 divided by 13 equals 6. 6 times 13 equals 78. Final answer is that there will be 13 containers. All right, scholars, this was a really good problem to work on and practice our division. Please continue to practice and look in the comment section for amazing videos that I am linking to other teachers explain what division is. So this is a practice problem. If you need help with division, please refer to those videos in the comment section or the video description. Y'all have a great day.